Hello everyone and welcome back to DET Coach's Beginner's Guide to the Duolingo English Test. In the previous lesson, we learned a template for images of objects. In this lesson, we'll learn a template for landscapes and broader scenes and use the coastal lighthouse image from the lesson materials to create a complete description. Landscape images usually do not show a clear human action. Begin by establishing the overall setting, then describe the foreground and background, and finally add an overall atmosphere supported by visible evidence. This template for landscapes also has 3 sentences. The first sentence uses, "The picture presents to introduce the overall scene and its main environmental feature." The second sentence uses "in the foreground" and "while" to connect the foreground and background, creating a clear sense of depth. The third sentence uses "overall" and appears to summarize the atmosphere, then uses "with" to provide the supporting evidence. When completing the foreground section, choose "there is" or "there are," according to whether the subject is singular or plural. Now look at the image in the lesson materials. The main subject is a coastal lighthouse building with a white fence in front of it. Close to the camera, there is a narrow path running through the grass. Beyond the fence, we can see the sea and blue sky in the distance. Trees on both sides frame the lighthouse. There are no clearly visible people in the image, and the overall setting looks quiet and open. We can describe these visible details, but we cannot add the lighthouse's name, exact location, or opening hours. First, complete the opening sentence. The picture presents a bright coastal area with a lighthouse building. The phrase coastal area is based on the sea visible in the image, and the lighthouse building is the main environmental feature. The word bright is consistent with the clear blue sky and abundant light. The first sentence only needs to tell the reader what kind of scene this is. There is no need to fit the fence, path, and trees into it as well. The second sentence establishes the foreground and background. In the foreground, there is a narrow path through the grass, while the sea and blue sky can be seen beyond the white fence. The foreground subject is one path, so use "there is." In the foreground locates the nearby path, while beyond the white fence directs attention to the sea and sky farther away. This sentence does more than list the features. It also tells the reader where they are in the image. The third sentence describes the overall atmosphere. Overall, the scene appears peaceful, with trees framing the lighthouse and no people visible nearby. The word peaceful is not an arbitrary guess. There is no visible crowd. Trees on both sides frame the lighthouse, and the setting is fairly open. Appears shows that this is an impression based on the image, while the phrase after "with" provides specific evidence. If the image does not provide enough evidence for a particular atmosphere, leave out the third sentence. Do not force in words such as relaxing, busy, or lively. Combining the 3 sentences gives us a complete description of the image. The picture presents a bright coastal area with a lighthouse building. In the foreground, there is a narrow path through the grass, while the sea and blue sky can be seen beyond the white fence. Overall, the scene appears peaceful, with trees framing the lighthouse and no people visible nearby. When using the landscape template, first identify the overall setting and main feature. Then choose one foreground detail and one background detail. And finally include only an overall atmosphere supported by visible evidence. Use "there" is for a singular foreground subject and "there are" for a plural one. To describe a background position, you can use "in the distance," "behind," or "beyond." The template gives you a consistent order for observing and writing, but the specific content must still come from the image. In the next lesson, we'll begin learning about the interactive writing question type and response process. I'll see you in the next lesson.